Imagine you're out shopping at your favorite hypermarket. You're wandering down the aisles, picking up some groceries, maybe a few snacks, and then suddenly, bam, the lights flicker, the doors lock, and you're stuck. But not just for a few hours or even a few days. What if you were locked in this hypermarket for the rest of your life? Sounds like the plot of a thriller movie, right? But let's explore this bizarre scenario and see what life would actually be like if you were confined to a hypermarket forever. Welcome to Astroscience. Here we don't just explore the mysteries of the universe, we dive into the extraordinary possibilities of everyday life. Today, we're venturing into a fascinating scenario. What if you got locked in a hypermarket for the rest of your life? At first, panic would likely set in. The realization that you're trapped in this massive store would be overwhelming. Your first instinct might be to try and get out, maybe find a security guard, use your phone to call for help, or look for an emergency exit. But as the minutes turn to hours and you discover that every door is locked, the reality begins to set in. You're here for the long haul. Once you've come to terms with being stuck, the next step is assessing your situation. Fortunately, a hypermarket is one of the best places you could find yourself trapped, full of food, water, clothes, and even entertainment. But the key here is to make these resources last. Food and water are your immediate priorities. Hypermarkets are typically stocked with a vast array of consumables, from fresh produce to frozen goods, canned items to bottled drinks. But you need to be strategic. Your first instinct might be to feast on all the fresh food available. After all, it's perishable. And while it's true that you should consume perishables first, you also need to think long-term. It's wise to eat what would go bad quickly, like fruits, vegetables, and fresh meats. The dairy and bakery sections would also need to be tackled early on. As the days go by and the fresh food begins to spoil, you'll have to switch your focus to more durable goods. Canned foods, dried pasta, rice, and other long-lasting items will become your staples. Hypermarkets are also stocked with a variety of bottled drinks and water, but you'll need to be careful. Depending on the size of the store, bottled water could run out in a few months, or it could last for years. Then there's the issue of power. Without electricity, freezers will stop working, and so will the refrigeration unit. Though frozen food would have to be eaten within the first couple of days before it spoils. You'd also need to be mindful of any gas leaks or electrical hazards that could arise from malfunctioning equipment. But here's a fascinating thought. Many hypermarkets have backup generators to keep essential sections running during power outages. If you're lucky, this could mean access to refrigeration and freezers for a little longer. However, generators need fuel, and without a constant supply, they won't last indefinitely. With food and water sorted, your next priority is finding a comfortable place to sleep and relax. Most hypermarkets have a furniture section with beds, sofas, and even home decor. You can make yourself a cozy little nest right in the middle of the store. Not only would you have a comfortable place to sleep, but you'd also have access to a variety of bedding, blankets, and pillows to keep warm. Clothing wouldn't be an issue either, given the vast selection available. You could have your pick of outfits, shoes, and even accessories. And let's not forget about hygiene. Hypermarkets are stocked with toiletries, soaps, shampoos, and all kinds of personal care products. You'd be able to keep clean and maintain a semblance of normalcy for quite some time. But eventually, without running water, maintaining hygiene could become more challenging. You'd have to rely on bottled water or any remaining reserves in the store. After the basics of survival are covered, the next challenge is keeping yourself entertained. Hypermarkets typically have a decent electronics section with TVs, video games, and sometimes even computers. As long as there's power, you could entertain yourself with movies, games, and more. But with time, even the vast array of entertainment options in a hypermarket might start to feel stale. You could read through all the books and magazines, but eventually, boredom would set in. Keeping your mind occupied would become one of the toughest challenges. You'd need to find ways to stay mentally active and sane in the long term. You might consider creating a daily routine, setting goals for yourself, or even inventing games and activities. The store itself could become your playground, with its endless aisles and hidden corners. But without human interaction, the psychological impact of isolation would become a significant hurdle. While you might be able to sustain yourself physically for a while, maintaining your health long-term is another story. Hypermarkets often have a pharmacy section stocked with over-the-counter medications, vitamins, and first aid supplies. But what happens when you run out of essential medicines or face a medical emergency? Without access to medical care, even a minor injury or illness could become life-threatening. Without a balanced diet, you might face nutritional deficiencies over time. Sure, there's plenty of food in the beginning, but once you're down to just the canned and processed stuff, maintaining a healthy diet becomes tough. And then there's exercise. Staying physically active would be crucial to maintaining your health, but with limited space and equipment, you'd need to get creative. Walking or jogging through the aisles, lifting heavy objects, or even setting up a small workout area could help keep you fit. Perhaps the most daunting challenge of all would be maintaining your mental health. Human beings are social creatures, and isolation can have severe psychological effects. Loneliness, depression, anxiety, and even hallucinations could set in after prolonged periods without human contact. To combat this, you need to keep your mind engaged. Creating art, writing a journal, or even talking to yourself could provide some mental stimulation. But eventually, the lack of social interaction would take its toll. At some point, you'd inevitably start thinking about escape. Could you find a way out? Hypermarkets are designed to be secure, with alarms, cameras, and heavy-duty lock. But with enough time, you might be able to find a weak spot or create an opening. Of course, there's the question of what awaits outside. Is it a world you recognize, or has something catastrophic happened, explaining why you're locked inside in the first place? Without knowing, the idea of escape could be both thrilling and terrifying. Assuming escape isn't an option, the only path left is adaptation. Over time, you'd learn to make the best of your situation. You'd create routines, find new ways to use the store's resources, and perhaps even come to find a strange sort of peace in your isolation. Humans are incredibly adaptable creatures. We've survived and thrived in some of the harshest environments on Earth. So, while being trapped in a hypermarket forever might sound like a nightmare, there's a good chance you'd eventually find a way to make it work. Maybe you'd even come to enjoy certain aspects of it. Being locked in a hypermarket for the rest of your life would be an enormous challenge, but it wouldn't necessarily be the end. With ingenuity, resilience, and a bit of luck, you could survive and maybe even thrive. After all, life is what you make of it, even if that life is confined to the four walls of a hypermarket. Thanks for joining us on this wild thought experiment. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Got an idea for a new adventure? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries of the universe with astroscience.